Alright, hello and welcome to the final video in this UE4 series where I'm showing you how to make Pong with Blueprint. This series we're going to tie up all the loose ends, get our game ready to go, we're going to create a standalone build, and I'll show you a couple little things that we got to change. First thing we got to change, now that we have two different levels that we can load into, we can go back to our menu and we can set it up so we can load into each one of them. So let's go to our levels, go to menu, and then we go ahead and just, let's see what we got here. We'll go to Blueprints, and then we'll go to BP Pong HUD. That's the HUD we had before. Inside of here, you can click on Design, you can click on Graph. And you remember before, we had it so that the second button, which is, we could rename those, honestly. Let's just name this, double click. There you go. And we'll name this Play P2. Name that a button. Play P2 button, so it's clear. And play P1 underscore button. Great. So if we go back into our graph, we have these controls over here, which are now correspond to the onClicked. Instead of loading P1 main for when we want to play P2 player, with a two-player mode, all we have to do is just change that to P2 underscore main. Hit save, go back to the menu, hit save again, and hit play and see what happens. Hit player 1. Hit player 2, you see we have two controls. Not sure what's going on with player 1 there, we'll fix that in a second. But yeah, we got two controls here. So it's now loading into that second map. Let's see what's going on with the first map there. Maybe something strange is going on. I'm not sure quite what's going on there. Let's see if we can sort that out. Oh, one thing to make note of, sometimes it'll spawn a paddle right in the middle here. See, like that? It's kind of weird. What happens is it's just looking for a default player controller, or a default pawn. So one way to get around that is you can just put in a player start in the menu, and that way it'll just spawn off the screen. We could go ahead and set up other things, but this is a really simple, easy way to solve that. So it'll just always spawn a paddle that'll just move off screen, and that way it won't just spawn it in the middle when the game restarts. But it seems like this is trying to load into the map that it currently is, which is a little strange. Last time I had some issue with this, there was a few weird things going on. Let's see if I can fix that again. Last time all I did was I just dragged this guy out, and I typed in print string, and that somehow fixed it. Let's see if that does the trick. Not quite. Interesting. Let's see why this this might not be loading into the correct map there. Got player 1 main. Hit the player 1 button. Let's see if we just bind that button again. We'll delete this whole thing right there. Maybe it's because we changed the names of the actual buttons. That might be a reason. Go into here, and we'll go ahead and click on onClicked. And we'll go back to the other guy, and we'll just do a unclicked. There we go. We'll drag these fellas up. Plug him in. Plug that one in. Let's see if that sorts out what we're running into. Not quite. That sounded interesting. So it's restarting the level it's currently in. I've actually not experienced that before. Let me see if I can figure that out, and I'll get right back to you. I'll cut right here and see you in a bit. Okay, so I think I sorted it out. Basically, the issue is how we have this BP brush here, and it might be that the objects aren't spawning in correctly, so the level's not working on it. Let's see if we can move that off to the side, and maybe that'll sort out some of the issues. Let's also make sure that we do the same thing for P2 main. We've done that for that one. Let's go back to the menu. And inside our HUD, let's see if we are loading correctly. Plug this guy in, and hit play. In fact, that was the issue. Okay. So just make sure that your character or your pawn can spawn in a scene where it appears that the level won't actually load correctly. That's good to know. Interesting. All right. So we've got our main menu. We can load in the one-player mode. You see that there's an artificial intelligence behind there. That works. Great. And then if we hit P2, we have two separate controls. Excellent. So, and then we also have controls, of course, that shows the controls. Good stuff. But you may be noticing that every time I want to go back, I actually have to exit the editor, come back in. That's not exactly what we want. Let's add a little bit of functionality so that when we escape from one of the matches, we'll come back to the main menu, and then from there we can just quit. So the easiest way to do that is we'll just go to the first type of match. We don't need our BSP anymore, but we can just leave it in there. It's not really hurting anything. We'll go, actually we'll get rid of it. We'll get rid of that. Go to our level blueprint. And inside our level blueprint, we're just going to do some basic boilerplate stuff here. So type in escape, and then I'll make it so when you press the escape key, and then type in R, and then I'll make it when you hit the R key. So what do you want to do when you hit escape? We want to load or open level. We want to open the menu. So when you're in playing a game inside player version, player 1 version or 2-player version, you just want to make it so that you can escape and get back to the main menu anytime. That's all that does when you hit escape. Restart will just be bound to R, so easiest way to restart will just be open the level you're already in. And the level we're in is going to be P1 main in this case. And it looks pretty good. Go ahead and copy these, compile, save, and then go back into, go to P2 main. And we're going to do almost the exact same thing once again. Right in here. We're going to open the menu if you hit escape, but in this case we're going to restart this level because this is a different level this time. Cool. And then if we go ahead and go to the menu, we're going to add a similar functionality to the level blueprint, but a little bit different. In this case, if we hit escape, we just want to quit the game. That makes sense. And we don't want to be able to restart the menu. That wouldn't make sense. So now, if we go in, we hit this, hit play, and we wait for it to load. It may have crashed. Yep, it has. I'll cut here and I'll get back to you when it hasn't crashed, or when we get back into the game. Okay, we're back. So what we were working on is we were just going to set up that inside the main open the level blueprint. We have it set up so that instead of opening a level, it's just going to quit the game. And we got rid of our restart function because we didn't need that inside the level. Go back to the main level, hit compile and save. And now if we go to the menu, we can hit play. That'll load this map. If I hit escape, we'll do it in a second. But if I hit play, you can see I can play this match. I can hit R to restart. Seems that since I last crashed, actually, it didn't save the changes I made. So I'm going to just update those real quick and come back. Okay, so we're back. I just had to fix some of the things because after it crashed it didn't save. So if we go to the main menu and we hit play, then when we hit R on the keyboard, it restarts the match. So that's an easy way to restart it. Cool. Now if we go into player 2, same thing. We can hit R and it restarts the match. Great. And now to test the backing out of the matches and into the main menu and then quitting, let's go ahead and run this in a standalone game. This will just make sure that it's outside the editor, because normally escape inside the editor will always just exit you running a game. In this case, we'll actually see it work. The window will be a little messed up, but hopefully it'll make sense. So let's see. We'll go ahead and hit play. And there we go. We got Pong playing. Looks pretty good. And what happens if I hit escape? Quits the whole game. Not exactly what we wanted, right? So let's go back to P1 main. And we'll go to our level blueprint. We don't want to actually quit the game. I think this may have just got messed up after it crashed. Let me just change this to open level. I may have actually changed this myself. Let's see. We'll just do menu. Looks good. We'll go over to the other one. And this one is set the menu. Let's try running that again. Alright, so we loaded right into the single player mode. Let's go turn off the audio there. And we're in the single player mode here. So we got it's the two player mode. And now if I hit escape, brings us to the menu, which is good. If I hit one player, I can play a match. I can hit escape, that'll bring us back to the menu. And then if I'm in the menu and I hit escape, it closes the window. That's exactly what we wanted. So that's great. Awesome. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. That's just about everything we need. There's only a few other things we should probably tweak, and they're just little subtle things. One of them being, let me see here. Yeah, one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure that when the game is game over, if it's loading the correct map. So we'll go back to the BP ball. This is a little bit of an interesting kind of tweak to see if it's right. We'll go up to here, so it's after the game is over. Right now, the way it's set up, we're going to be checking if it's a game over, we're resetting the ball to the center, or if it's a game over, it sets the ball in the center, and then we delay for a couple seconds, and then we open the level. But if you notice, no matter what map we're on, it's always going to load the one-player version of the game. We want to have it so it can load player 2 or player 1, depending on what level is currently open. And there's kind of a fairly straightforward way of doing that. The way we're going to check is we're going to see if there's a paddle in there that's called paddle left. You know, that one we added in that's 2-player. If it is in there, we should load the player 2 map. But if it's not in there, we should just load the player 1 map. So here's how we'll do it. Break this off. Drag this down, and we're going to drag off from this guy, and we're going to do get all actors of class. This is only going to run just at the end once the game's over, so we don't have to worry about any issues with this function running many times. So we open that up, and what do we want to look for? We want to look for the BP underscore. We'll do let's see something in here. Yeah, paddle left. That's the paddle, left paddle. So it's saying, is there a left paddle in the scene? Maybe we'll just go to, oh, we're good where we're at. I'll go to, let's see, where we are. Yeah, right here. You want to get actors of all class for the paddle. So if we find that paddle, we'll say, okay, we found one. Awesome. How do we know we found one? We'll drag off of the array of objects that we found, and we'll check what the length of it is. The length just checks and sees how many objects did we return. So if this range, if this count is greater than 0, that means that there is a left paddle in the scene, and that means it's 2-player mode. If it's not true, if this is in fact less than 0 or 0, that means that there's not a left paddle in the scene, and therefore we can just go ahead and load the other level. So here's how we'll do it. Put an if statement here, drag that off, plug this condition in. If we have at least one paddle in the scene, or at least one left paddle in the scene, a player controlled paddle, and that means it's a 2-player map, and we want to restart that 2-player map. If this isn't true, which means we don't have that paddle, which means there's an artificial intelligence running the left paddle, or there's not a human on the left side. Plug that into false and make this P1. And there's an easy way to check this. We've kind of done this a little bit before. Just go down to here, make this 0, and we'll see if it loads the correct map. So we're in P2 right now. We're going to go ahead and not hit launch like I accidentally did. Hopefully that won't just take a few seconds. Cancel. Select the viewport. We'll run in there. So we've got 2-player mode. And it restarts. And here we are in 2-player mode again. Great. So you see, game over. Restarts, and it's still in 2-player mode. So it essentially restarts the game. If we go to P1 main, we'll hit play. And what happens if the ball goes out of bounds? We'll just let him get one in on me there. Oh, game over. Okay. And does it still load into player 1 mode? It does. I can't control the left paddle. Excellent. So what that means is we have full control over restarting the match in the correct way. Because now we have the ability to make sure that it's restarting the correct map. Otherwise, before it would always just load into the player 1 map. So that's looking pretty good. Compile and save that. Let's go ahead and make a build of this game. Let's see how it runs, because this is looking pretty good to me. Before we do that, though, there's one key thing we want to change. Go up to Edit, go to Project Settings, and one of the things in here that we're gonna need to change is going to be one of the settings. I think it's let me see if I can find it here. One of these settings. Oh yes, right. It's going to be so we can change the maps and modes. Remember in the beginning we set this to be the player 1 map. All we want to make it start from the menu, and we'll just make it start from the menu in the editor as well. That looks good to me. And we'll go ahead and hit X, and we'll hit Save. And then finally we'll go to File, Package Project, Windows, or whatever version you're on, or if you're on Mac or Linux. And then go ahead and just make a file on your desktop, and we'll call it UE4 Pong build. Maybe let build 01. Hit OK, and then hit the show output log. And so this will show you what it's doing. So it'll package all your content, get it all ready and compiled and down, ready for you to be used in the actual game itself. So this is the file that you could send to someone for them to play Pong themselves, or to have someone test your game. You can also build different versions. Like I said, you can build to Linux, and you can build to actually HTML5 now, so you can deploy it right to the web. But if you see in the bottom right there, it says that we're done, which is great. We'll minimize this. We'll minimize the editor. We'll minimize the launcher there and some of this other stuff. And now we can go ahead and click into UE4 Pong build 01, Windows no editor, and then click in UE4Pong.exe. Go ahead and hit OK. And our game is playing in an independent window, completely independent of the actual editor. Great. Let's hit play 1. Getting some pretty good hits on this guy, huh? Can't seem to get back at me. Maybe we'll tweak that so he can be a little stronger. I'll hit escape to go back to the menu. Let's try 2-player mode. And one of the interesting things to note is if you're looking at this video, it might not show up in the actual video, but if you look at the ball, it seems to kind of judder, right? You notice that every few seconds it kind of like lerps forward. It's a kind of a weird thing. I struggled with figuring out what that was for a long time, but have a look at this. If I go back to the main menu, you see everything else seems to be working just great. Have a look at the ball as it comes around, right? It's a little weird. Seems to lurch around. Let's go into to change some stats on this game. So if you click the actual... Sorry, that's probably distracting. If you click down or on your keyboard, click the tilde key on the top left, and you can type in command line information. So let's just type in stat FPS. Oops, I think I spelled it wrong. You see in the top right hand corner it says 62 frames per second? That's pretty good, right? But you're thinking, that's kind of weird, right? Why 62? Well, that's what I was thinking too. Well, watch what happens if I change the max FPS to 60. All of a sudden, all that juddering goes away, and it's perfectly smooth. Hit play, no more of that at all. It looks way better. Now, it might not show up in the video. It's a little strange like that, but in here, it just looks perfectly smooth. And so if you ever run into issues with that, just know that it might be that the actual frame rate needs to be adjusted. So how do we change that so it's always like that? Let's go back to the editor. Let's open up the editor here. Oops, that's the launcher. Inside the editor here, what we want to do is go to Edit, Project Settings, and then we're going to go to Input. I'm sorry, not Input. We're going to go to General Settings, scroll down a little bit ways, and you see the smooth frame rate. Change that to 60. And that'll solve that little juddering physics issue that we were running to earlier. Should solve what we're running into there. So hopefully that'll work out for us. The editor, it just takes a second to update. We'll exit out of that. And that looks pretty good to me. One other thing we should probably adjust is the enemy AI is a little slow. I don't know if you noticed. Let's speed him up a little bit because he seems a little slow. Although in here he seems to play quite well. Doesn't that seem a little odd, right? But it's just about how the game engine plays in different formats. So let's go into blueprints. We'll go to the let's see, we got the enemy paddle. Have a look in here. Looks pretty good. Let's just see. What are we running into any kind of a speed issue here? The AI paddle speed. Let's make it something like, say, 15,000. Is that what it was before? What was it before? 10,000? 15,000 should be good. File and save. Now, it might be a couple settings you could change to get it to match more accurately inside the editor, but for now, this is just a tutorial. We're just going to try and get it a little more accurate inside the game. We'll put that to 15,000. That shouldn't be too bad. That looked pretty good to me. And let's go ahead and just build this one more time. Go to File, Package Project, Windows 64-bit. And we'll go ahead and create a new folder. We'll call this, not inside that one. Just go to Desktop, UE4, Pong, Build, 02. Hit OK. Now we'll let this build again. So this time we should have solved a little issue with the physics. We should have also solved a little bit of the issue with the paddle on the left being a little slow. That shouldn't be too bad. And then I'll show you how to change one more thing. I'll show you how to change the actual size of the window in case that's something you want to do. You can't really do that from in the editor, but I'll show you how to do it by changing one of the options files. Let's go ahead and go into here. Let's see what we got. Built right to the desktop. Probably want to build it inside a folder there. So let's just do that. Put it inside a folder, that way we know what it is. Call it UE4 Pong build _02. Put a space in there, that way we know it looks a little better. Okay, go into here. UE4 Pong.exe, pop that guy open, allow. Looks nice and smooth. No issues. Okay, and let's see. Let's hit player 1. Oops, missed that one. Much better. So if you, of course, you can adjust this to your difficulty, whatever you think is fair. But I think it's a little more on the, actual difficult side. You can adjust that to whatever you feel is appropriate. And you can even set up like a difficulty setting, so that way you can decide on how hard you want it to be, just based on that value. Excellent. Back to the menu. And there we are. That's the final game. One more thing we can change. This is just a bonus. We exit out of this. And you need to make sure you always run the game once before you can make this change I'm about to make. Go into UE4 Pong. Go into Saved, Config, Windows No Editor, Game User Settings. Inside here you should see a blank screen. What you can do is you can copy and paste in some info here that will allow you to change the actual size of that window, which is kind of an advantage sometimes because sometimes you want to know, you want to change it to something that's more appropriate. So let me go ahead and just do that right now. I'm just going to grab the settings I have off of another file. I'll be right back with you. And here they are. So these are the settings. Script, it's a square bracket, backslash script, backslash Engine.GameUserSettings, then another square bracket closing, bUseVSync false, ResolutionSizeX, ResolutionSizeY, and then full screen. You can change all these things, but the key ones here are just these. You do need this on the end for it to actually work. So go ahead and copy this, paste it right in, and you can change the window size now to whatever you want. I think 900 by 900 looks pretty good. Kind of a square setup. Go ahead and save that file, and that's this file, in case you were wondering again. Saved config, Windows Editor, Game User Settings. I'm sorry, it doesn't look like it took. So go ahead and hit Control V, Control C, Control V. I'll have this in the description. Go to File, Save As. Save this as all files. You go ahead and save again, and yes. I believe that's what you need to do. Sometimes it doesn't take if you just use save. Go ahead and go back, run the game again, and now you see the window's different size. Great. So there we have it. We have Pong, and it's completely created. You have a player 1 mode, you have 2-player mode, you have controls. This can be tweaked, of course. The screen size was adjusted for the actual widescreen. But it all seems to work pretty well, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. People have requested this in the past, so I wanted to make sure I helped everybody out. This last video has run a little long, but hopefully it's good just to give you all the final details you needed. And if you like this series, please let me know. I consider doing more of this in the future if I get some support on it. And otherwise, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate this, and leave a like and subscribe and comment on this video. And if you want to support my work or the video games that I make outside of tutorials or these tutorials, feel free to support me with fan funding on YouTube. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.